am back to show you my next step in my school planning for the year. In my last video I showed you my summary page, which had the goals and the curriculum on it. So now that we have the curriculum all set and we know what subjects that we're covering this year, the next thing I do, and by the way, all these charts like this I just made on an Excel spreadsheet and printed them out. So real easy to customize to your own liking. This, I really like to have everything written out and so I can see it. So the next page that I made, and by the way, another note, this was not my own idea with this whole year planning system. I will link the blog post below where I got this idea about planning my school year for the entire year. So I will link that down below, and I do believe she's got some printables available, but I kind of like to customize them to myself. Alright, so anyways, the next page that we will look at is the term goals for 2015 and 2016. Now, as I mentioned, we're doing 5 terms with 7 weeks in each term. So I have them listed out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then down the side I put the different subjects that we're doing. Now obviously I had printed this out before I decided to do away with some of these things. So it's a little bit messy, but that's okay. So this is everything that we're doing. These are the lesson numbers. So I broke up the lessons into which terms I'm going to do them in. Now how I did that was, let's take English for example for Rebecca. So I took Rebecca's English and I looked at the teacher's manual and I noticed that there are 160 lessons. So I took 160 lessons and divided them into 5 terms to see approximately how many I would need to do in each term. So let's see, I think, so what it ended up to be was 32 lessons per term. Now, how did I end up with 1 through 30 then? Then I looked in the book, and I don't like to stop a term in the middle of a chapter. I prefer, if I can at all possibly, to finish up a chapter before I end the term, so we're not halfway through a concept and then we take a week off. So what I did was I found, let's see, lesson 32 in the book is actually in the beginning of chapter 4. So I don't want to get into chapter 4 and then take a week off. So I'm going to go ahead and back it up and finish off chapter 3, which would be lesson 30, is the last lesson in chapter 3. So that's how I broke up so that's how I figured out that I was going to do lessons 1 through 30 in the first term, and then I used the same process to do the rest of the terms, and then I went ahead and moved down to math and did the same thing. So after I went ahead and did that and had them broken up into which terms, then what I did, you'll see the little notations here, is determine how many times a week I would need to do a lesson. So let's see, we have 30 lessons to do. Now remember, my terms are 7 weeks apiece. So If I did it 4 times a week, that would end up with, I would get 28 lessons done. So I'm actually scheduling it for 5 times a week, approximately. So most weeks we'll be doing English for Rebecca 5 times a week. Same thing with math. Social studies ended up being 4 times a week. So this helps me when I'm going to go ahead and schedule my weeks out. How often I need to do it. Handwriting I'm doing 2 times a week. Piano is 1 time a week. Extra math, and that's, while we're looking at that, that was one I didn't mention. It's extramath.com or .org. I don't remember offhand, but it's a great math practice tool. It's a drill. You can change the settings. You can do addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. And what it does at the beginning is it tests your child to see where they're at, and then they try to build upon their skills as they go along, and they can earn smiley faces and different things. So that's a really neat way to practice their math facts. So I like to try and do that every day. And then Emma is the same thing. She's got English, math, piano, and then on the computer, another one I did not mention was abcmouse.com. That is actually a paid site that we subscribe to, but again, another great online learning site. She has learned so much, and it's just really a fun thing to do. And then the science. So that is how I broke up the term goals. Now, the word goals. I like the word goals because as much as I need to write this out and see what I need to be able to finish by the end of the school year, I'm trying to take the guilt off myself. There are some days, there are some weeks that we just don't do real well at school, so we might get behind. So even though we're behind and we're not perfectly, I don't expect to follow this perfectly at all. This is a blueprint. This is our goal. Again, why I like to use the word goal is to give myself some grace. I can get very hard on myself when I don't live up to my own expectations. This works out great on paper, but we all know that with family, with anything in life, there are issues that come up, there are problems, and we're not going to be perfect. So the word goal gives me lots of grace and gives the kids lots of grace. And that's really what I'm trying to speak to myself. I'm speaking right to myself. I'm not preaching to anybody but me right now. Is to give myself some grace. When I fall short of my goals, that doesn't mean that I'm doing anything wrong. It means that we may have a little bit of catching up to do on another day, but it's doable. And to not to be too hard on myself, and certainly not to be too hard on the kids. So there are my term goals for this year. Now, the next thing I do on the next sheet is I'm going to break it down even further. If you'll see that this is a progression. This starts from just an overview of the year. We're going to look at the curriculum. We're going to now break it down into the terms. The next sheet we're going to actually break it down per week. So this is my weekly goals for 2015 to 2016, term number 1. Now this is what I do on my week off. When I have my weekly break in between my terms, I do this once each term. So I have term 1 done because school starts in a couple weeks. I am not going to plan out term number 2 until the end of term number 1. That way, if I look and I see, oh, well, we're only up to, lesson 26 in English, I know where we need to add a few more lessons in for term 2. So I can kind of gauge where we're at. Even though I have this complete overview that's going to let me know where we need to be, this will kind of break it down even further so I know where we're behind. So all I did now I have this listed out. Since this is term 1, we know there's 7 weeks, so 1 through 7, and then I put the dates in. So September 8th through the 11th is week 1. The 14th through the 18th is week 2. So, and so on. So I have all the dates, and then using my planning sheet, I know normally I would do English 5 times a week. Actually, this week is Labor Day weekend. So we're not starting till the Tuesday, so we only have 4 lessons we're doing in English that week. But then we move on and do 5 up until the end, where that gives me a little wiggle room too, where I have a few extra days if we're a little bit behind in our English. And the same thing, and it's the same headings with the subjects that was on the other ones, with the exception of the computers, because we don't really track the computer work too much. It's just kind of as they go along at their own pace. The typing and the extra math, it's just kind of, we do it as much as we can, try to get it in every day, but we don't really track that. So that is how I've broken up my term goals and my weekly goals for term number 1. So I hope you're enjoying these videos. This is something that I've just gotten into. The last couple years I felt more and more comfortable doing this. I love having this all mapped out this way. Some people are really good at doing it off the cuff, and they can just have the kids, hand the kids the books, open it up, and let them do them. They're less structured. I have found that I can't do that. If I do that, then we don't get much done at all. And it's the same way in my normal life. I definitely need a schedule. I need something that tells me what I need to do for the day, for the week, and a concrete goal in mind, so that I'll get it done. So if you have any suggestions or comments about homeschooling, things that you have done and tried that have worked well for you, I'd love to hear about them. I'm always looking for new ideas. Again, this is not my original idea on how to do this, but the blogger I will link below. So thank you so much for watching. I've had a really a fun time sharing with you. I'm going to continue to share as I'm moving along in my planning, and we'll see if I can get this all organized. All right, you have a great day, and I will see you later.